built to last, and here's how I spent the last 30 days developing my Roblox game. In the first 7 days, I focused on the cooking. I made 4 different recipes, 4 different mini games, and ended with a little restaurant. And while this is amazing progress, the game is looking kind of empty, so let's fix that. Right now, after finishing a mini game, it's a little boring, so I spiced up the transition. I added this text that pops up on screen saying good, and if you make no mistakes, it even says perfect, with a different sound effect and color. This adds a lot more life to the cooking and makes you feel rewarded for doing a good job. There was no way of seeing all the recipes, so I added a menu. I made all the icons in Illustrator and went for a simplistic style. The cool part is that it generates all the menu UI based on the various statistics of the different foods, so it's really easy to change. I also made level requirements for the different foods, so you now have an incentive to grind to unlock new recipes. Don't like cooking in the same restaurant? Well, it's your lucky day. Now, there's multiple restaurants and they even look better. However, making them was harder than just duplicating them. I had to make all the counters and furniture automatically assigned to the owner when they load in. So I just made the full saving and loading system of furniture. To do this, I saved the positions and rotations relative to the base of each restaurant. So when loading in, it works with every restaurant rotation. Upon leaving, the furniture gets removed and the restaurant is now open for other players. Using this system, I can even load a forest in my restaurant. Wow, restaurant games are a lot more fun with NPCs. So let's do some research. Just kidding, but I did end up looking at how NPCs load and unload in Restaurant Tycoon 2. To do something similar, I first got the NPCs to be created on the server and then load into the correct position on the client. I did this by adding attributes of its position and rotation so the client can load it in correctly. Now, when the player walks outside a certain radius, the NPCs unload, and when walking back in, it loads them correctly. Now that we have this new riveting gameplay, let's make the NPCs actually move. To do this, I used Roblox's pathfinding service and created a system where NPCs avoided furniture as best as they can, but will pathfind through it if there's no other options. In the actual game, I update the position attribute every waypoint and then tween the NPCs on the client to each position. That's a lot of hungry customers. If only I knew what food they wanted. So I gave the NPCs the ability to talk. I did this by creating the speech bubble in Illustrator and then attaching a billboard GUI to the NPCs. When you click on an NPC, it turns the order gray and starts the order for the player in the top right. Once finished, the NPC walks away and despawns after leaving the door. The NPCs are still a little static, so the final part is adding the animations for the client. Originally, I created my own animations. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of room for improvement. But then I realized Roblox's animations are available, and using their walking and sitting animations makes the NPCs look a lot better. I know there's still no eating or ordering animations, but I'll add them in the future. Now that the NPCs are done, I wanted to polish up the game. To make leveling up more exciting, I made a nice animation pop up on screen once you level up and show the new recipes you unlock. The animation itself is made from just scaling the size of the different UI elements and plays a sound when each element appears. It's pretty simple, but it adds a lot. On screen, you may have noticed this coin counter, but there's no way of earning coins. So I made it that when the NPCs finish eating, they pay you and you receive coins. However, tweening directly to the player misses if the player moves after the tween was called. So I switched to moving the coins towards the player each frame, and now it follows the player perfectly. Currently, there's only 4 different recipes, so let's add salmon sashimi. The first step is to cut the fish into thin slices. To mimic this, I made the player swipe from top right to bottom left to mirror the angled cuts. The next step is to assemble the plating. For this, I reused the assembly minigame from the maki, but changed how it looked for sashimi. You drag and drop the various elements and it comes together nicely. And that's it. I also made another variation of sashimi using yellowtail instead of salmon by just changing the fish color. And here's what they look like after being added to the menu. And with that, the month is over. I'm really happy with the progress I achieved on the game. I hope to continue development, and I hope you're as excited as I am. Thanks for watching.